and up and recording. Welcome everybody. Wesley Pepper here. Welcome to the Art of Lexcia podcast. This is episode 202. And to the new and returning listeners, welcome. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe button. I would appreciate it. And let's very cool guest we're gonna be talking about today. Lots of stuff that I've been covering constantly on this platform, as if you've tuned in before, you'll probably know. But let's first welcome my guest, Teto Mokaila. How do you pronounce his surname, my brother? Mokaila, right?
Mokaila.
Mokaila. Teto. Good
Yes.
morning, my brother. First and foremost, welcome. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I'm feeling like sunshine with a little chance of rain. How are you doing, Wesley?
Sunshine, yeah, I love that. I love that. No, man, I'm alright, man. This is my favorite time of the year. Spring, sort of early summer, definitely best time of the year. The mornings are lekker. It's nice and crisp, and I love it. And like I said just before, offline, like very cool gig. Lots to unpack here. We're talking about the Drama for Life 17th conference festival, and the theme is human change for global ideals to justice. It's kind of a mouthful, which will be taking place from the 8th to 10th October later on this month. So my brother, let's start in the beginning. What's your involvement with the festival? And can you just give us an overview of the festival, and then we'll unpack, everything but after that.
Awesome. Happy to do so, Wesley. So my involvement and in the capacity I'm here is as media head at Drama for Life. So I'm coordinating all things media, from social media and so on and so forth. But also my involvement in the festival is that I will be a panelist. I will be facilitating, and I'll be chairing at least one of the presentations. So I'm wearing multiple hats. And just to give you an overview on the festival really comes at a topical time where we find ourselves as a global community in crisis. Right? And this festival wants to bring a global audience into the same space where we can have different perspectives from different backgrounds, from different countries, where we can engage in this conversation about the status of humanity right now and all the things that are affecting where we are and why we are at present, and how we can reimagine a future, hence the human change. So it's an all-inclusive festival that is going to be really for grounding education, particularly through arts therapies, applied arts. In having these dialogues, and not only verbally, but also in an embodied and in an arts-based and expressive way.
Yeah, I picked up that about, like, it seems like a real multi-layered festival with more performance-based and a really interesting lineup, and we'll get to the lineup a little bit later. But I need to ask about the fact that you mentioned that the world is at some form of crisis, definitely socially and politically, for sure. This is pretty cool, man. I like to believe, I'm a Pan-Africanist, and I like to believe what Fela Kuti used to say: music is a weapon. Well, at least in this case, art is a weapon. What's your take on using art as a form of not resistance, but a form of protest, as a form of healing? As what's your take in around that, and what's the festival's sort of end goal with regards to that? Because just another point before you answer that, I'm really excited to sort of talk about that, because, like I said, that's definitely up my alley. And post COVID, because I started this podcast during the hard lockdown, and I've been sort of tracking how artists have been adapting and changing and conceptualizing to the surroundings and all of that. And it's very, very, very hard as a creative to not talk about what's happening globally, whether it be in Gaza or Palestine, whether it be in Sudan, whether it be in South Africa. So yeah, so just what's your views on that, my brother? And then we'll just unpack that as we move along.
Sure. I think, and I'm glad that you made reference to what you were doing and how you started the podcast in COVID. So for me, the arts are incredibly important in responding to the world, to reflecting the world as it is, but also to reimagine the world using the arts. Also, and going back to COVID, the arts were used to keep us sane during that time. Because when the
Yeah,
world came to a screeching halt where we couldn't move anywhere or go anywhere, what were we doing? We were
yeah,
reading. That's
yeah.
literature. We were watching videos. People like you were coming out with podcasts and so on and so forth. We came to a point where we relied heavily on the arts, and that time just emphasized the importance of the arts in healing, in building connection, in cathartic release, and in also creating new works and helping us to find out how we can change the world as it is now. And something that's very beautiful about the arts outlive so many other
Mm,
man-made things because we are depending on your beliefs, but on whichever higher power, we are created by a creative, and thus the creativity and art lives within us. And so our to live is art. And as Auguste Bois, one of my favorite theorists, says, um, all people are theater and have the ability to act. So theater
mm,
lives within us, art lives within us, and our way of making sense of the world is through art. So I could go on and on and on and on about art, but just to touch on, you mentioned resistance, you mentioned protests, and I was like,
mm,
historically speaking, looking at South Africa, looking at the struggle against the apartheid government, jazz was a huge thing. Visual
mm.
art was a huge thing. So as protest, but as a way to convey messages through a government at the time that was really looking at trying to police everything and everyone, including a crushing expression. But through art, people were able to make it out, were able to send messages out and to encourage people to continue with the fight unto liberation. So art is everything. Art really is everything. And I think what this festival and the part of the existence of Drama for Life is to advocate for the power of art, the transformative and healing power of art.
Wow, wow, wow. Thanks for that, man. Yeah, like I said, that is definitely up my. It's basically what I do, to put
Mm,
it bluntly. And yeah, man,
yeah.
like you mentioned, art was at the forefront of basically every single revolution, whether it be in Europe, whether it be in Africa, whether it be in
Yeah.
Latin America. And I don't wanna get political, but I do believe that politics complicates things a lot, and art, in my opinion, simplifies it. Um, it's also, yeah, it simplifies and
Mm,
also speaks to human emotions, which is a global thing: love, fear, etc. And it taps into the individual and it affects the individual. Whereas, again, I'm not looking for clickbait here, but I know with politics it's very divisive, and it sort of draws these
oh
very
yeah.
hard lines, and sometimes very difficult to cross, and art sort of like just erases all of that. So I just wanted to make that point. um Dope, man. Like you mentioned, you also part of one of the panelists. And there's a bunch of speakers, artists, performers, etc. Can you just give us like a highlight reel, or can you just highlight some of the other people that will be taking part in the festival, and what will they be doing?
Cool. You know, it's a tough ask because I really want to mention everyone in the program and what they're doing.
Hmm? Well, take your
But
time. I
I'll
mean,
break it down like
we have the
this.
time.
We are going to.
Hmm?
All right, cool. So for starters, on our on the opening day, which is tomorrow, actually. Wow, time flies. We're gonna have keynote addresses from the likes of Karen Green, who is the head of Sibikwa Arts Center.
Yeah, from
She's gonna be
Sibikwa.
speaking about the practice of justice. So centering collective, cultural, and creative practice as a route to personal healing and societal repair and reimagined governance. We are going to have Gerard Bester from the Windy Brow Center in Hillbrow. He does incredible work with the community that side, arts-based work, and he's going to have a paper series on Altazor, or it's a titled Altazor, or the parachute got stuck in the Ponte Tower. I'll read a little bit about that because it's really, really interesting. If you could just give me a moment.
Yeah, please. No rush.
Oh, all right. Oh, my notes are not together. I'll come back to it. But let me continue and name some of the other people that are also going to be there. There's going to be Standard Back Ovation winning facilitator and artist, Cebile Dlamini, who works very extensively and has done so over the years with the society, the Joburg Society of the Blind. So bringing the kind of work that will put us in a space where we witness work that was not done for the blind youth, but by the blind youth, so that they can share their experience with us of how it is to be blind in Johannesburg, living with that. There's going to be speakers on AI, artificial intelligence, asking questions such as, are our traditions being changed by AI? In what sense are they being changed in AI? And this is these are conversations that are happening even within the higher education spaces, where we are wondering to what extent AI is silencing our students' voices. How much of them are they are in their work, and how much are they AI, and so on and so forth. We're going to look at history, whereby because history informs our today, and then our today is how we reimagine our future, but we always from history. And looking at things such as the genocide that happened in the Gukurahundi genocide, which was in Zimbabwe, through the lens of film, and how toxic masculinity and trauma, because of what happened in the past, are still things that we need to address today. There's also going to be presentations on indigenous practices, really looking at re-emphasizing indigenous practices as art therapy, going back to what we said in the beginning, that art is therapeutic, it's healing, but looking at it specifically from an indigenous practice lens, because in this westernized world where indigenous practices has been demonized, it's going to be refreshing to hear from people who are in the practices of these, who are advocates for indigenous practices, into how through indigenous arts and looking back, again, going back to history and bringing that into the contemporary, we can use that for collective and individual healing. There's also going to be films that are exploring the rippling effects of gender-based violence in the South African society. There's going to be another film that I produced for through Drama for Life, where the students essentially went out of Gauteng into Mpumalanga to work with a boarding school to employ arts therapies and applied drama and theater practices in a space where they uncovered so much, and there was a beautiful moment of humanization that took place. So there's that film that's going to be there. There's also going to be puppetry as improvisation for the exploration of expressive release and suppressed emotions. So it's such a loaded program, and this is not even all of it. This is not even all of it, but just wanted to pass through what's there and who will be there. I am noting that I've missed a lot of names, But yeah, maybe we'll get back. Maybe we'll get back to it.
Yeah, man. And no stress with that, man. Because what I will do is I'll put a description, or not description, a link to the festival in the description box, with any other information,
Sure.
and so any other listeners, feel they want to look at the full list, they can just go to the description. But you mentioned a hell of a lot of stuff there, and
Sure.
one of the stuff that sticks out there is the sort of variety of speakers and presentations, presenters, pardon me. Quite. I mean, you even mentioned film.
Yeah.
So just sort of break it down to us, man. How of like the actual program of the festival, because actually I would, because I wanna sort of get to some of those stuff that you
Sure.
mentioned, especially with AI and film. You mentioned some of your work is there too, but just break
Great.
it down. So the festival starts, I assume, in the morning and run through the course of the day, and
Yes, tomorrow.
how yeah,
Yeah.
just sort of break that down for us, please.
All right, absolutely. So we start 7:30 in the morning. Well, the first hour is going to be for registration, for people to mingle, have some tea, and then we're going to have an official welcoming at around 8:30 through music. We're going to be welcomed with the music of a marimba band, and then 9 o'clock is when our head of department, Dr. Linda Dana Tibedi, will be welcoming us into the space, as well as Professor Renee Smith, who's the head of the Wits School of Arts, um, and our deputy head, Dr. Sibongile Bebe, as well, will be who also is the curator of the festival program, will also be speaking. And then the keynote address by Karen Green will be right after at 9:30. And following that, we're jumping into now the official program where we have performances,
Yeah.
we have papers. So there's going to be a performance. So these are going to be running at the same time. A performance by Drama for Life alumni Majesty Miandu on brutal honesty. We're going to have a paper series by one of our lecturers, Hamish Neal, which is going to be a collaboration with his master's students, where they're going to give us a paper on human change facilitation process experience. Also to note, Hamish Neal is the one who's going to be giving another paper the next day on AI, on how grok is potentially changing our traditions. And then we have Gerard Bester, who will be giving a paper presentation as well immediately after that. Then there's going to be a short break before we move on to our keynote address at 11:55 by Nadia Virasamy, where she is going to be presenting on protest movement, embodied storytelling, and choreographed socio-political resistance. I just love how all the things we're kind of talking about are in there. Art as protest, movement, the body as a tool for storytelling. We're also going to have right after that uh, another paper presentation by Dr. Nashilongwe Shipe Mushanja. And the interesting thing about this one, it goes back to the indigenous practice of drumming. So drumming is drumming culture and restorative justice. And this is from northern Namibia. We'll have another paper it's going to be a satire. And I think with all the serious things that we're going through, it's going to be a
Yeah.
beautiful kind of shift into satire.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, earlier you had said to me that you don't know, art may not be so political, but we find politics in art, and so it's going to be a
Yeah.
nice, I guess, expose on democracy and a reflection on South African theatre through the satire. Then we're going to have another performance by Lucky Nash Makubana titled Library in Flames. I feel like that heading just speaks volumes.
Wow. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's a pretty
before
bold headline. Yeah.
yeah. And then we'll have after the performance, we're going to have theater of the fractured, performing trauma, healing, and hope in post-colonial African context. That'll be a presentation And at the same time, and these things are running concurrently, at the same time, there'll be another presentation. So using theater in education in Zimbabwe. So there's a number of things that are happening concurrently, followed by another performance series by Cebile Dlamini, who I mentioned earlier, who works with Johannesburg Society of the Blind. One of our master students as well will be in another performance installation where he's a master student who is working with a group of our honor students, and there will be a workshop using image theater as a pathway for human change and justice. Then this is now in the afternoon. As we head into the afternoon, we have Marlies Swanepoel, who have a workshop series on rupture and repair, which will be an interdisciplinary embodied approach to arts and health practices in post-conflict South African context. We also have a performance series by the Drama for Life partnership with Joburg Theatre. There's going to be a performance there called Threading into the Wilderness.
Okay.
And at the same time, we have another paper. Whew, there's so much. There's so much. I'm going to there'll be another paper. And to end off the day, there will be there'll be 3 performances to pick from, one of which is by one of our lecturers here in Drama for Life called Mokete Khutle, which is about a journey of the Sotho for resistance through movement and song. So using movement and song as resistance, going back again to the history of the histories we've mentioned in the African context, in South America and in Europe and so forth, using movement and song, but with a specific focus on Lesotho. We've got Willie Khoza with the Injustice of the Innocent. That's also a performance. And that ends our day 1.
That's only
and
day
I think
1.
If that's only day 1, I think maybe with day 2, maybe if going through day 2, I'll just highlight a few, just so that I'm not reading out the whole program. Because as you said, you're going to share a link, right?
Yeah. You can
much
just
like the way we
some
start
stuff that you feel is that sticks out.
Yeah. Cool. So on the second day, much like we started the first day, we're going to have a registration tea welcome from 7:30 to 8:30, and then there'll be a guided reflection on the previous day from 8:30 to 9. And then from 9 is where we start with a keynote address by Dr. Munyaradzi Chatikobo, who we call Dr. Chati in the space about the practice of justice. He's an expert in cultural management policy. And we're going to have a very interesting keynote address at 10:15 by Tanduwen Tsinga and Sarah Kabanegele and I think I mentioned this earlier, on the re-emphasis on indigenous practices in therapy. Tandu is also an author and has an incredible book that's out. What is the title of that book? It's a very interesting book. It's Black Racist Bitch: How Social Media Reveals South Africa's Unfinished Work on Race Paper. So
Okay.
we've got very revolutionary radicals in the space here. And then there's going to be a nice series of papers, one of which touches, I think, on AI, rethinking digital knowledge in the Anthropocene. So we're going back to that conversation on artificial, or on the second day is where we start to really have the conversation on artificial intelligence. We've got a paper also looking at storytelling specifically for Black men, healing and justice, which also comes from a person, Kabela Mokgatle, who is very focused on the lack of representation of Black male drama therapists in South Africa.
Interesting.
So that's, yeah. And then we've got
Okay, Teto. Yeah, man. Like I said, I'll put a description in there because I really just want to touch on a few points here, because you mentioned at least 3 times or at least that's how I picked it up, that you're going to be talking around AI, and you mentioned Grok in particular. Now, just for some perspective, this is the AI topic is something I've been trying to cover Actually, for the past 2 years, so just to give you some insight, I was just basically asking artists, what's their take
Yeah.
on it, how are they using it, how do they understand it, and so forth. And the reason for that is just, or one of the major uh, uh, points or the thing that I feel that is seriously problematic with regards to AI is the fact that it has free range and it can take all
Mhm.
our art, all our so basically hundreds of years of creativity, take all of that, render it, and push it out as an own product, and somebody can profit all of that, and there's no regulation around that. I did ask, okay, I won't mention names, but like some people in some, let's just say offices or people who got some say in the arts industry, and who's got a voice in the arts industry. And one of the stuff that a really big point that it still stuck with me, and I think I did this interview last year, it was that AI changes so fast, that government regulation
Mm.
can't keep up with it. I thought that was really, really poignant. And you mentioned Grok as well. I mean, Grok is seriously. I think Twitter is seriously problematic. I've removed myself from that platform. I don't support Elon Musk, and I want nothing to do with his platform. I think it's a very toxic space. Too much propaganda and too much division on that platform. And Grok in particular, a buddy of mine in Ireland actually ran. We were chatting about doing Ahmed, just some not freelance work, but he was trying because I have a company, just some design related stuff. And he ran some stuff through Grok, and it was different to Gemini or to Chat GPT. And I found that pretty interesting as well.
Mm.
Just like how these different AI bots, I guess, how the overlords are programming them. I mean, I think that is pretty. So basically, I just wanted to give you some perspective on where I'm coming from. So what I want to ask really is sort of what is the desired outcomes out of all of this presentations and talk around AI. Is there any movement towards some form of regulation? Where you want to include some form of government or other major stakeholders in the arts, or she's because this thing impacts more than just the arts. But I'm speaking a lot because I'm an artist. Um, but is there some long term
Yeah.
goal in terms of that, or are you just trying to open up dialogue and just trying to get people to talk about it?
Um, yeah, I think the main thing is that we have the dialogue, right? Because at where we find ourselves, and then I can speak in the context of the higher education space, is there's people who are for, people who are against, and we tend to butt heads. AI is bad because of A, B, C. No, AI is great because of this, that. And so what makes this space for the Drama for Life conference and festival space important is that we're now saying, okay, cool, let's come together, let's have a conversation, and let's think, and let's leave the space with a call for action, because we are noting the good things that AI is helping with and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
But we're also
yeah,
noting the things that are very detrimental that we have
yeah,
faced within the institution, that we're faced in outside, even globally. And back to your point, and I'm going to draw a thread to this, that capitalism dictates that you churn out more quickly and more efficiently for more profit.
yeah,
Unfortunately, what that does is that it grossly impacts employment. It
mm,
grossly cripples entire sectors if we're going to lean heavily on this. And maybe AI is not necessarily the problem, but our use of AI, the lack of us having the talk on the ethics on how to properly use it and to fairly use it in all these spaces, so that we don't find ourselves um, cutting people down from the knees, essentially, within the education spaces
I
and
hear you.
globally in different sectors, unemployment, as I'd mentioned, and so on and so forth. So it's going to be a coming together to have this conversation and a call to action. What are we going to do within our space to impact the world and the communities to begin with and the world beyond?
I have to ask this over here. Is there any way that people like myself can, or others who's listening to this podcast can contribute, in, I guess, just input into all of that? Because, like I said, man, this is a topic that really hits home with me, and I've actually
Mm,
engaged on Instagram. I can't forget the people, man, but it was an organization that was also trying to do some form of get multiple artists, get with their views and sort of lobby that to government to say, please try to do something, and try to do something now. Next week, next month is already too late. They in fact that have started this at least 2 years, if not 5 years ago. And this thing is moving at a hell of a pace. And it's probably listening to everything you are saying right now. um,
yes.
but like Ahmed, basically, this is just a topic that I just feel society at large should be more, should be we should be talking more about it, and there should definitely be more regulation in and around that. So I guess, like, and this also leads to a question I wanted to ask with in terms of registration, and so forth. So the festival is happening from 8th to the 10th of October.
Yeah.
Will you be broadcasting any of these talks? Will there be any way of somebody who's not in Johannesburg, who's not close to the Wits, or Braamfontein area, to partake in the festival in some way?
Yes. We've made online provisions for people to join via Zoom. The link should be ready, I'm hoping by end of today, so that people
Okay.
can join in for a number of the presentations that'll be there. But the first step is to register, of course. And where
Yeah.
you can find that, you go on our social media at DFL Vits, and just go to the link in the bio. There's a registration there. The post has been making its round. It has a QR code. If you're with a mate and they're on their phone, you can just quickly use the QR code. But yeah, register and you can be there in person or online. We have you covered. And it really, and the beautiful thing about it, it's not you coming in as a witness just to watch them leave, but to engage in the conversation, to have your say. And that's because the discourse it's a global discourse about
Yeah.
human beings. And so every single human voice that can speak should speak.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. And just for my listeners, I will be adding all of that details over here. Because the festival is starting on the 8th. Today is the 7th, right? I think I'll publish this episode
Yeah.
tomorrow. So that it's up before
Okay.
or while the festival is running. Um, if yeah, like I mentioned before we spoke, if there's some technical issues, I'll just let you know via WhatsApp. Man, Teto, we actually covered most of the points. Because the other thing was the key focus areas, but I think that our was, but I think we sort of gave an overview, and all of that. Sort of like wrapping up. You mentioned that you had a film that will be showed. Yeah, just tell us a little bit about that. What's it about?
Yes. Yeah, the film is part of a panel that's called Fog to Light. So the name of the film is Fog to Light, and so to the panel, where it's really centralizing reflective practice, which is one of the courses that we give at honors level. That is the thread that binds all other courses, whether it's drama therapy, applied drama, and theater, and is the foundational pedagogy for all facilitators who go out into the world. And so it kind of chronicles the journey of our honor students from last year who went to Mpumalanga to go and see, not to see, but to employ or to use these different practices from a lens of reflective practice, which is a very human first, human centric practice to reach out to people and to ensure that we strip away dehumanization and so on and so forth and look at the people first and their needs before, so that it's not a parachuting in of coming in and saying, hey, we're here to save the world. No, it's to come in to hear from the community and to reflect on what they're saying. And depending on that, then offer work that we can engage with them in.
Yeah, interesting. Just another point on that, like the fact that in order to address any of the issues that's happening across the world, whether it be politics, culture, or whatever, listening is, I would say, is probably the biggest. I would say is probably the biggest thing. Listening and not
Yeah.
listening with some form of prejudice, just listening. Taking in and then obviously just taking notes and then reacting. Because unfortunately, in 2025, reacting first is
Yep.
unfortunately a trend, and especially politically, and then reacting without really understanding the context, and understanding the history behind what you're reacting for, and that form of activism, I find it's kind of problematic, and I don't think it's effective. So the fact that you guys are just focusing on that is brilliant, and I want to big up, salute to that. Like you mentioned, the registration. Does that happen? Do the guests need to register, or rather, can you register at the door, or is the registration only digitally?
From what I know, it's digitally, so that once all of that is captured and have the data, then we are able to print out names and so on and so
Yeah.
forth, and know that the exact numbers that we have, so that everyone is catered for.
Okay.
So by the door might be too late, but so as far as I
Okay.
know, it is digitally.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes complete sense. And you mentioned that you will is that you mentioned that Zoom link is not ready yet, correct?
Yeah, not yet, but it should be as soon as it's out during the day. I can definitely share it with you.
Yeah, please. I was gonna say, yeah, just please drop me a text with that, because I'll definitely add it in the description, and I'll definitely be sharing that within my network. And I think that is very important. So this is a dope ass festival, man. Like, gee whiz. Usually when it's interesting
Sure.
is this how my brain is rooted. When the word festival comes up, the first thing you think is entertainment. um and well, not just fluffy entertainment, but fun type of stuff. And I mean, here's some seriously interesting, serious and very topical stuff, which is fantastic. Sort of like in closing, man, this is the 17th edition of this conference. So my take is that it's annually.
Yes, that's correct. Annually, so 17 years in and going strong.
Brilliant, man. Yeah, sort of in closing, man, can you give us any social media handles, website, website, social media handles, and so forth, where listeners can
Sure
reach out
thing.
to Drama for Life or to Wits or to yourself? And if you have a blog,
Yes, yes,
Instagram page where we can find your work, yeah, can you give that shout out or mention those handles?
sure. All right. Yeah. So first and foremost, at DFL Vids. Once you type that in, Instagram, you are in. It's the same handle for Facebook, or you just type, actually in Facebook, you just type in Drama for Life. And the website is www.dramaforlife.co.za. We also have Drama for Life on TikTok at DFL Vids. So yeah, we're all on those spaces.
Okay, great, man. And any of your work, if you want to have a look at some of your work?
Oh yes. At Teto Mokaila, at TETOMOKAILA. That's my personal one, but there's links to my other work, because there's the photography, there's the film stuff, so that's linked to that account. But yeah, that's
Sure,
me.
for sure, for sure. Thank you, Abraham. And definitely,
Yeah.
this is fantastic. Like I mentioned in the beginning, I cover all of these topics almost every week. I talk to artists every week,
Mm,
almost exactly what you guys are talking about here. So the audience that listens to this is definitely the audience that you want to interact with. And this is fantastic, man. So all the best for the festival.
sure.
I will be in touch with regards to when I publish it, and everything. And I also create shorts of the full interview. I usually publish that a week after I publish the full interview, and well, I'm not on TikTok, and there's reasons for that. But most of my content is on. Well, the channel is on YouTube. But once it's shared on there, it goes to all the other platforms as well. And I'll send you the various links with regards to all of that. And yeah, I think that wraps it up. So once again, my brother, thanks for coming
That was
through.
great.
All the best for the festival, and all the success for
Thank you.
coming on the 8th to the 10th of October.
Thank you so much, Wesley. Thank you for the work that you do. Honestly, you have a
Thanks,
fantastic job and you're doing it very well.
Thank you very much, my
All right,
brother. I
have a great day,
appreciate it.
bro.
Yeah, I'll be in touch via
All
WhatsApp.
right.
So have a great day and take care, man. Cheers, man. Shop, bye.
Thank you. Cheers. You too, man. Bye.